kind of a safe AD carry. Maybe you want to sort of put Kino on Kongyue's side and get a bit of, you know, invading going on. And Leona does offer, I'd have to say, in the early game at least, a bit more sort of skirmishing potential than the Lulu. The Lulu kind of only there for her slow, a little bit of damage in his shield. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of the angle you have to go to. I mean, we do see Gragas with the Comet this game.
Does have the Comet. Kind of makes sense, I think, especially because he's going to be solo AP. Probably does need to build a pretty AP-heavy build. Worth noting is that Xayah Feng has the Ghost, whereas Shin's been forced into taking the Cleanse. I think that's one really nice thing about having a champ that forces Cleanse out of Zeri, because Zeri with Ghost is so hard to deal with. Zeri with Cleanse, you know, it's still Zeri Lulu, it's still tough, but it's killable. Whereas I feel like Zeri with Ghost is actually just immortal. Both junglers starting on the bot side. Is going to be spotted out here, though. CFO, they're going to look for just a little bit of chunk, maybe. No, we'll go back to their wave. Gemini was forced to solo start, so it's going to be a little bit behind in tempo compared to Kongyue. I think, though, on the side of CFO, if nothing happens in the early game, if you just deny Kendra from getting marks, even 0-0, by the time team fights roll around, you're already so strong. And this is one kind of risky thing maybe about the Gragas blind pick, because it does mean that you can pick basically whatever scaling mage and mid that you want, and just scale so hard into those team fights.
Yeah, I'm surprised they did end up taking Gragas mid, but it is what has happened, and I think we see so many different keystones on the Jax into the Cassante. This time it is the Grasp of the Undying, so maybe having a bit of a better trade in those 1v1s. See if that impacts the lane at all, but at the moment he does have the push up in the top lane. It is matched as CFO have pushed down bot.
It is just shoving in. It's very difficult for Gragas to keep up with Talia's wave clear. It does only get worse. One thing he has going for him is that gank setup, and Kongyue is looking mid with red buff right now. If Jimmy can avoid this window, he'd be in a really solid spot. He's playing respectfully. Kongyue is nearby. I think he's going to be good. Yeah, definitely knows that something is up. Can he be forced off the cannon, though? It looks like he will. Yeah, so did not pick up the cannon. Small win there for BYG, but a win nonetheless. Kongyue is spotted crossing mid, which you kind of know he started bot side crossing the top anyway, so it's information that doesn't really do a whole lot for you, but it's nice to get confirmation.
Absolutely, and I wonder where this 50-50 of the mark will spawn. It is really nice picking up that early one if you can onto that Scuttle Crab, but if it does spawn on bot, he will not be able to take it, so...
Sweeps out this ward. Oh, doesn't quite get it. The mark is actually on bot side. Gemini will pick it up.
Yeah, so that's quite nice for the side of CFO. Means that 4-mark range power spike will not be met as early as it possibly could have been.
That is pretty big in this game. As I was saying before, I feel like it's very difficult to actually hit as a Kindred up against this sort of comp. This could definitely be a Jimmy and 1v9, I think. It's really set up for just a fantastic Talia game. Doesn't have a whole lot of threat onto him and gets so much value in these team fights. Be interesting to see what kind of itemization he goes for. I think the Leandries kind of makes sense, but also the solo AP of his team could go for something like the Ludens if he wanted.
I feel like with their comp, it's sort of, we've seen it quite a lot recently where I feel like BYG will win a lot of early skirmishes if it comes down to it with their champs. But all CFO really have to do is just wait a little bit. Sort of wait out, and your Zeri Lulu will be so insane, as will your Talia. And I mean, everyone knows about Cassante's late game, so it feels like maybe these earlier sort of maybe looks at the Dragon, you can give them away, which isn't what we typically see CFO do.
Yeah, I wonder if CFO will kind of just try have their cake and eat it too, and get, you know, Dragon stacked up early, even with the scaling comp, because I don't think the comps are so... While you've got insane scaling from CFO, I don't think your comp's so weak early that you can't fight anything. So, I mean, that's kind of like the luxury of having the better draft here, is that not only do you have better team fight, I think your lanes are actually decent. Even if they can just delay Dragons going down, it would just buy them more time to hit that team fight stage. It's not so much that BYG scale badly in terms of damage. Like, they still get the Xayah, who scales very well, but it's just so difficult to actually hit. Like, having the short range on the Jax, on the Kindred. This wave is frozen by Kino.
Kongyue is unseen for now. Going on to Shun, he will be able to just jump away. Won't be able to get onto Slaytrue, who does use Zippy to get away, so... I mean, nice idea to look, but well played by the side of CFO to not get caught by that gank.
They do manage to avoid that. I think that's another pretty important window to avoid. Really try and stop Kongyue from getting any in towards this game. I think Kindred definitely one of those champs that snowballs insanely hard, but oftentimes can find it quite difficult to get the snowball rolling. Especially when there's kind of a lot of defensive lanes here, right? It's pretty difficult to gank a Cassante. Talia, I suppose, is the easiest lane to gank, because bot lane with that Zeri Lulu, they're very strong defensively. We might see a river fight, though. Is level 6 on the Gragas. The Scuttle Crab will be picked up. I don't believe it's marked, though. No, it doesn't look like it. Ooh, big chunk. It's a little bit of first strike gold. Actually, not a big chunk. The man has Catalyst. He does not take damage.
It was marked. He did just pick up that one mark. It was weird. We didn't see it really on the minimap, but did get his first mark there, which is quite important, and also the early dragon. So CFO, honestly, for the first time in a while, just happy to give up the first one. And I mean, I think that's the smart decision. They do definitely scale really hard, and you don't really want to play into Gragas' early game, especially now that he does have this catalyst.
Definitely agree. I think giving over one dragon at least is completely fine. While there isn't a trade that comes out, it's just not really something you need to coin flip so early into this game. I think once you reach kind of that one item spike on Jimmian, you're already ready to fight. So maybe looking towards more that kind of 11 to 13
Has to be careful
minutes.
here though. 1116 getting a nice trade in on Jimmian. Looks like he might look to recall, is getting quite low on mana there.
Maybe, yeah, could be. Yeah, there's no blue buff up. Might look for some honey fruit in the bot river. I think he looked and didn't find it. Probably wants to stay at least a couple more waves. Although getting in that reset before the Herald comes up is pretty important if you do want to contest it. It's very common that you see mid laners just base, right about this timing, just so you can spend all your gold before Herald's up. Try and be as strong as possible for that. Kino also resetting means he can path to Herald out of base if he wants, and it looks like he will. BYG definitely thinking about contesting this.
Yeah, Merctread's picked up by Leona, and kind of an interesting decision, I feel. There's only the one AP as well as... I mean, what stun really can come through? It is Talia,
Yeah, it's just Talia and maybe the Poly.
Yeah, I don't know if I like the Merctreads in this game, but... Anyway, is the option, and BYG really making use of their early game skirmishing potential. Looking like they will pick up both the first Dragon and the Rift Herald, so... Really do like this early game out of BYG, although is it enough to really combat and get far enough ahead to push for a win against this really nice late game out of CFO?
We'll have to see, because I think currently doesn't feel like enough, but there's still plenty of time, right? Especially if you can get one gank off and then herald the lane. That alone can be more than a 1k gold swing. So at least for now, I mean, the gold difference remains extremely competitive and very, very close. Maybe Kongyue looking for something top, though? I mean, it feels hard to gank rest. He's going to try, though.
Yeah, he's going to try. Lakai has gotten him quite low, actually, and rest will flash away. You imagine he will recall and teleport in. Now, what I want to ask you, actually, is where do you think you put this Rift Herald as the Kindred? I feel like as Kindred, you kind of don't care who gets the gold other than yourself. So, I mean, while you might want it to break towers, all these towers are at 5 plates still. I really think you just want to get it down for that gold on yourself.
I think, yeah, just getting the gold for yourself is nice, but for me, 100% should go bot. I think Xayah is definitely going to be your main carry in this game. I think that Xayah has a much easier time actually dealing the damage in most of the fights for giving gold on the Gragas or the Jax. Doesn't change the matchups too much, but we always see Xayah, if she can get to the 2 items before the big team fights really start, she can actually just 1v9 the game from there on out. So I would try and place it bot. Worst case, though, you always kind of see that if you can't put it anywhere else, you just put it mid. Because at least that way you can break the tower kind of later in the game. And we might see that from Kongyue here, who is showing mid.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty average, though, to use it here. I mean, the tower is literally full HP.
I think maybe even if you can't find a perfect time to use it, you can just wait till that dragon's about to spawn and just use it simply for the pressure to acquire second dragon too.
Can be a good play. Looks like going to try and force something in a bot here.
Yeah, Kino does go in now on Gemini, who gets ignited, will clone away. Solar Flare is beautiful, as is the explosive cast. Can they find the kill, though? Isn't going to go down just yet. Rift Shield will be used bottom, so gold, you imagine, will be picked up by both Kongyue. Or was it only Kongyue? I didn't see a second lot go to Feng, so maybe only Kongyue got it there, but...
Yeah,
man, Gemini escaped with the skin of his teeth.
It was very low. I thought he was just dead to rights there when he had the Gragas above him as well, but managed to get under that tower, and it was TP committed by Jimian, which means less time farming mid, but, you know, to save your jungler, you have to say it's worth. The gold lead from those plates puts BYG slightly ahead. Definitely not, I think, though, kind of at that point where you're so far ahead there's nothing they can do about it. I think really importantly, though, Feng will complete this Gale Force quite early. I think, again, getting those 2 items on the Xayah is so important.
And that's crazy how a full combo kind of landed onto 1116 and almost no damage really to speak of at the moment, but obviously hasn't completed an item yet, so fair enough. But also what I want to touch on is generally we see at this stage of the game, I mean, we have in the past anyway, is Kasante's often pulling ahead a little bit. But in this game, actually, we see Jax kind of coming ahead of these trades and staying entirely even in top lane. Do you think that'll like have an impact as we head towards mid-game and more of these objective fights are taken?
I'm not sure, honestly. I feel like the reason Jax is remaining competitive is because he's gone for that grasp. I think it actually was the guy who took the lethal tempo against the K'Sante before, and so has obviously decided, okay, that's not really going to work. So you have sacrificed a little bit of scaling in exchange for that early game. But yeah, I mean, still remains very strong. Second Dragon is picked up only 12 minutes in here, which is good, I think. If you can force, especially if you can get the 2 items on Xayah and then force a fight around that 3rd Dragon, I think that's a really good timing that BYG could use as Kongyue walks through walls.
Yeah, and I have to say, I think 24 minutes is a little bit before you really want to be for these sort of scaling teams, right? Like, I think scaling is generally past like 26, 27, maybe even 30 minutes, and you're starting to get 2, 3 items online. So really good job actually by BYG controlling this early game so well and picking up these objectives. They're certainly giving them an insurance policy as we head towards the 25-minute mark.
It is big. I think if you can force CFO to fight at an item deficit here for that 3rd drag, it's really big, and not a situation that CFO find themselves in very often. Normally CFO is kind of the one drafting the way BYG might, where they kind of have the ability to put on pressure early, stack up those drags, coming at a cost of some of the scaling. Do you know how many marks on Kongyue?
I don't know for now, but we might get to see now as he is up top, so...
He's looking for something.
Yeah, certainly is. And passive here is falling away from Jack, so losing a little bit of power, but I don't think you can dive K'Sante. It's such a tanky champion with so much sort of disengage and movement. As we see action on the opposite side of the map.
Shun. I don't think he can set anything up here. Most likely will just be the farm. I wonder how long Shun's been on the map, because it feels like he should have had this mythic a pretty long time ago, but probably just hasn't found the ideal reset opportunity. I think if CFO do take a fight at this 3rd drag before Xayah has 2 items, it is still winnable despite CFO being, you know, at least not at the scaling they kind of need at this point. It looks like first tower could end up being picked up by Feng here, which would change a lot. I want to see Kino honestly just kind of walk away and give that solo goal to Feng, because this would be such a big acceleration.
Is the solo gold given? So, I mean, getting him really close towards these Navoris, you have to imagine, is, I mean, a really massive Xayah power spike. And Lakai looking to try and delay this. We do see the bot lane headed mid, so if he is able to delay it a little bit, might have a fight on our hands, but I don't think he will be able to for now.
CFO are committed. I don't know if they want this, though. They have no first item on their mid.
Lakai going in, massive 3-man stun and explosive cast. Great Talia wall to block off any entrances, but Kongyue happy to just jump on over that. Rift Shield will be picked up by Gemini on the backside, as it looks like we will just disengage. Perhaps Feng not quite there in time.
Yeah, I think Feng's reset was a little late. It's actually pretty big that CFO managed to pick that up, because didn't have 1 item on, I think, their mid, top, or AD there. But now they can all come through and get completed. So it's a big win. I think the Herald doesn't have the biggest impact on the game, but just taking it away means that this top tower or this mid tower might survive that little bit longer. Taking a look at this, I think the ult coming out of from Jimmy was pretty big. It kind of did wall them off. Like we said, the bot lane reset was a little late. Nakai kind of does what he can to put this in a good state for his team. Finds a lot of damage early, especially with the cast. But the Talia wall cuts everyone off, and there is no follow-up. Spends so long just kind of 1v5ing. Feng is so strong, but kind of as he arrives, the fight has already been decided. Maybe a slight macro mistake there from BYG.
Yeah, but ultimately you kind of can consider it like a trade first tower for the Rift Herald, which, you know, is definitely in favor of Beyond Gaming in that case. But Dragon in 1 minute, will we see a 5v5? We did lose Jack's Flash as well as Kindred and Gragas that fight, and maybe Kino as well. He does have Hex Flash though, so still a little bit of usage out of that, but 5 flashes available for CFO, so perhaps weakness on the side of Beyond coming up here.
I would definitely like to see CFO fight this. You mentioned the flash advantages. I think those are pretty big, as well as the fact that you're fighting when you're all on 1 items, but importantly, before Feng has 2 items. Although it is BYG who have the much better control around the Dragon currently. CFO, they're going to look to regain control through that mid lane. Definitely could be a 5v5 angle here. Both top laners have TP as well. This will be interesting. I mean, have CFO reached the scaling that they need to kind of just make their 5v5 comp work? We're about to find out as Herald has dropped mid, and something will have to give here soon. I think Lakai can actually just get the top tower. I wonder if CFO just start up the Dragon immediately.
Yeah, so for now, in favor of BYG, and if they are able to delay this, Jax is incredibly fast at taking towers, so the side of CFO can lose a lot more than they really want to if they're not quick about this, and the Comet Gragas will be able to do a little bit of poke, but Teleport is committed, so is the Talia wall, so walled off for now. Can Kongyue get in and steal this? He will be looking, and it does go over to Gemini, so Dragon picked up for CFO, as we see Shun running forward, seeing if he can get anything done. Flashes on, doesn't quite land auto attacks onto Kino, but First Blood goes over to Talia, and now we see a follow-up. Can Feng stay alive in this? A kill picked up for Rest, as Feng will go down to Talia too, so massive pickup. 3 kills here for the side of CFO, as well as that Dragon.
Yeah, that's so big for the side of CFO. You get 3 kills, the Dragon. You put this game in such a good spot. Might even get 1 more. I think killing Gragas is pretty hard. Yeah, can't quite get him. But it's so important. If that Dragon goes over and you lose that fight, it can be really tough. But I felt like we really just saw how much better CFO's comp is in the 5v5. And Feng not at that point where he can really 1v9 in those team fights yet. Hasn't reached that 2 items. In this replay, I think really well played by Jimmian. So initial wall that comes out buys so much time. And then also got the combo straight after. Dealt a lot of damage to these 2 on the side. Well done by Gemini to grab this. And then it feels like after that, BYG are stuck kiting away, but already on low HP. And whenever you're running away from this area, the fight already feels kind of done. She can just chase down so easily. Lakai buys himself, or buys his team a lot of time. But there's just, again, no threat under the carries at this point. Feng does what he could, but it just ultimately wasn't enough. CFO's team fight, just a bit too strong. Would be pretty interested to see damage in that fight, because I wonder if Kongyue's Kindred actually did get to output anything. It felt like kind of just kiting back, which is what Kindred wants, but you know, it just doesn't feel, yeah, 147 damage. You can't actually hit. That's the big problem. Kindred, in theory, scales extremely well, but up against the Talia makes it so hard.
Definitely does, and I mean, yeah, Talia putting out so much damage in that fight, and I kind of didn't realize until I haven't. Sorry, hold on. We see Shun engaged on. Wildgrove Ankling is used, but 116 comes in with a flash, and importantly, a kill picked up onto that Kindred. So Teleport actually coming in for Rest, but you feel like he's just going to have to disengage. Will 1116 allow it though?
Nice pickup there by Kongyue. Gets the kill. Baron's not up, so they can't force it. Also, Shun lost both sums and still died. Is perhaps a window that can be punished again.
Yeah, as I was going to say though, I didn't realize there wasn't a First Blood until it like popped up on my screen there. Really quiet game for the first sort of, well, 15, well, more like 18 minutes here, but kind of exploded now, and with a bunch of these summoners down and Baron up, there could be opportunity for more fights to come.
Definitely is. I think if you're on the side of BYG, as soon as you get 2 items on the Xayah, if you can force a fight while Shun still has no sums, that's a really good chance to kind of put this game in your favor. You have really good Baron DPS, so if you can win a fight, you can almost immediately look at that. But until you get 2 items on Feng, it does feel pretty difficult. And the side of CFO definitely hit their scaling. They're coming up on second item for both the carries as well. Kino could look again. Doesn't have the flash this time. It was flash invested by the Gragas and the Leona in that last pick onto Shun. Jimmy even has the stopwatch, so going to be extremely hard for him to get taken out. Jimmy's been looking so good on these control mages. It's a good time to hit your form right before playoffs. Currently in that second place position. And will guarantee, I believe, second place if they win this game.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I think Kindred will have less than 4 marks now, because I did see as Lakai took that bottom scuttle, that mark spawned on it as well. So I'm pretty sure after 4 marks, you cannot have it spawn anymore on scuttle crabs. So Kindred's still quite weak in that regard. And I mean, you almost have to feel like Lakai taking it was probably not ideal, but
yeah, maybe just felt like he couldn't get it, or maybe didn't even consider it. But another dragon in a minute here. BYG, I think, have to keep contesting them. They do now have 2 items on Feng. Shun will have the sums for this fight, though. That window's kind of been missed, but I think this is a chance for BYG to win a fight. The 2 items on Xayah, the Navori, is such an insane power spike. It is 2 items now picked up by Jimmy on the Talia as well, though. Shun, I don't think, will quite reach the BT. Interesting that he's going for the extra survivability, because a lot of the time you only see it up against the poke. But maybe he just thinks that he can get so aggressive.
yeah, Baron started by the side of BYG, perhaps just seeing if CFO are awake still.
They look awake to me. Can they push this mid wave? Looks like they will. This can be difficult for BYG because it means you lose any control over the dragon. It kind of means that you have to either force them to come to Baron or you just end up giving up the drag.
Yeah, but we do have priority in the bot. Like, Lakai has pushed it almost completely out, but Dragon, start up by CFO. Will it be a Baron answer? It does look like the Kongyue and Kino are up there, as well as 1116, but perhaps just giving away this Dragon for free, which is kind of curious, you have to feel, but maybe have confidence in the ability of Kongyue to scale up on this Kindred and have a lot of impact.
Interesting. So TP came in from the Gragas, which forced CFO to actually get off the drag. But then when they got off, BYG also got off the Baron. Are they back on it? I think they might be.
here, can he steal the Dragon? No, he will not be able to, but Baron has been started up by BYG. Is Kongyue getting quite low?
I kind of liked what BYG were trying to do. I just think they don't really have the DPS to back it up, right? They have the Kindred, but not super strong yet. The Gragas and Jax, well, Jax wasn't there. Gragas doesn't have a lot of DPS, so perhaps if they have a higher DPS comp, could pick that up, but that's now 2 Infernals, which go to the side of CFO, even up the kind of drag win condition, as well as just giving us so much damage to what are extremely fed carries already on the side of CFO. That second item now completed by Shun. I think the game is getting worse and worse for BYG. While the game remains completely even in terms of gold, compositionally I think are very far behind. Does have the Navori on the Kongyue though, so if he can play well, perhaps could look for something. 116 could be in trouble. Has flash.
Might have to commit some sums here to try and get out. Nice explosive cast. Will find him getting away, but is walking forward like a bit of a madman. He's okay though.
They do get the Gragas flash, which is a lot of threat kind of taken off Shun, who is the one who will most likely getting flashed on most of the time. I think we will kind of enter a lull state here for a while. Don't think we'll see much happen. It's very difficult for either team to force a play. As I say that though, BYG, they're getting very aggressive in this top jungle.
Kino will find Slay True. He does just cop a Q, does flash. Zenith Blade will land. Will not commit Solar Flare. I like that decision. Looked quite hard to ever follow up to kill him. But look at how much damage the Gragas Q just did to Slay True. He's really found a foothold in this game. Got the 10 stacks now on the Rod of Ages.
It's very strong on the Gragas. And 1116 has to be that solo AP carry for his team. I wonder if he'll just go for the Rabadons next. I mean, there isn't really any magic resist, so it could definitely justify it.
Yeah, only real magic resist is on Lakai, and That's not particularly large amount, so yeah, I feel like you might be right, although he has picked up a amplifying tome, so a bit ambiguous as to what he could be buying next. Maybe Shadow Flame or perhaps the Void Staff.
Might even be some ability haste, because it's pretty common that you play Gragas with a little bit of extra CDR. And went for the Sork Shoes as well, so it doesn't really have any at the moment. Baron is being pressured again. I think it's pretty hard for either team to actually start. Definitely favors the team that can push them off it. Maybe a bit easier for CFO, given that they have a bit more sustain. But it is just quite hard to start. It can easily get engaged on.
Kind of interesting that the Bloodthirst has come out here for the Zeri. There isn't really any poke to speak of, as we do see Rest is engaged on. Will lose quite a lot of health, and now will Lakai look? Feels a bit dangerous, especially with Jimmy and hanging out there on the wing. Double knock-up into the stun, and followed up by the Cyclone and Wild Growth, but nothing found just yet. Very big chunks onto BYG, though.
There was a lot of damage just kind of coming out across the board. Xayah did so much to Rest, but then good damage traded back. Looks like it will just be a fight for this next dragon, although there are a lot of pings on mid. They could force something. They do have Jimmy's ult. Looks like it will just be farmed.
Kongyue headed back towards Baron and just going to clear out some of this vision yet again. Gemini, though, positioning forward. Flash on. Xenoblade lands onto the clone. Good dodge out there. Teleport now committed from Lakai. He is going to look for a flank, jumping over that Baron wall. Will Rest get caught out here? He does have Flash available. No Flash on Gemini, however, and also Cyclone down from what the engage was earlier. Kino turning.
I'm very surprised BYG are going back onto this. I don't think this looks so good for you. Feng's half HP with no more sustain, but they won this fight.
Yeah, Jimmy and hanging out on the wing will not connect on the knock-up.
Yeah, popped.
Drops the lightning. Can Lakai get onto Shun here? Isn't able to for now. Has to be careful of Rest. I feel like if Rest goes all out, we'll be able to just chomp through everyone. Kino now engaged on. No summoners available for him. All out is used onto Kino. He will now be going down as Jimmy manages to land the stun on Gragas. Lakai, however, finding Shun on the bottom side, as well as the feathers used. Will Shun go down? Not quite. We're seeing the use of Bloodthirst really showing here. Lot of low health bars. Kongyue will come down after Lamb's Respite, and that right there is a 3-for-0 trade. Shun very low though. Are they able to do this, Baron? Teleport available for 1116 as well as Lakai in the area.
They're going to try stop it. Looks like they'll push them off. Maybe not confident that they can do it without taking losses. It's just a bit safer to recall and take the drag, but I was really surprised that BYG actually wanted that fight, because I think Feng is by far your highest DPS, and he's starting the fight at half HP. It's just pretty difficult for him to actually deal damage. He did do a lot of damage to Feng at the, or sorry, to Shun at the end, but kind of felt like a little, yeah, just a little late in the fight to really have the impact you need. I don't know, it feels like BYG, they've kind of done the right thing initially, but just can't quite get there. I just feel like they don't quite know what they're after, and I think really trying to play around that Xayah, because like only at 1.8k damage, despite how fed they are, shouldn't be dealing less than the Gragas. Really just was poor decision making from the team.
Yeah, certainly, and I think importantly it's a lot harder for the Xayah to do damage with the Leona dead. You lose a lot of that peel, and I mean you do still have the use of that Feather Storm, as we see Rest now going on to Kino, and the Talia wall comes out. What can Kongyue get done though? He seems a bit untouched, as Feng will take down Shun in the front of this fight. It looks like it's going towards the side of BYG, as two have now fallen for CFO. Lakai trying to find another. Will get polymorphed and disengaged from, but now with the two dead on the side of CFO, especially the Zeri, looks like Baron will be going over to BYG.
It can be stopped here. Jimmy is still very strong, and a lot of the engaged threat is gone.
Lakai jumps over the wall though, and this guy is extremely strong on the Jax right now.
I think BYG need to be careful. This can be stolen away.
Yeah, it is extremely low now. No jungler in the area. He will go down, actually, Gemini does. Baron goes over to Kongyue, and BYG still following. Can they get it? It does seem a bit bad to follow Talia constantly, so we'll back off. Does claim another kill, however, and the Baron, so a really good advantage here, and see what BYG can do with it.
It's a really nice pickup for BYG. Also, importantly, the Dragon was never picked up, so I think BYG might be able to get this drag as well, but replay here. pay attention to the Gragas. This was actually a Gragas 1v9. Shun does not have any sums and finds himself placed in a very difficult spot here where he kind of only has the option to go forward but is immediately taken out. And finally, Feng is able to DPS, and we really see him do so much. I think that was actually just an insane Gragas flank and completely turned the kind of fight in their favor. If they hadn't found that, we're going to have a lot of trouble in this game. But now, the shoe's back on the other foot. They have 3 dragons. They have a gold lead. They have Baron. It's definitely in BYG's favor, at least for now.
Certainly is, and yeah, I didn't even catch that explosive cast the original time it happened, but 1116 really proven he can play the solo AP Gragas.
He did use his flash for that though, and Shun has sums for the next fight. It can be scary. You do have a big item advantage on your Xayah. I think if you're BYG, honestly, just try force another fight if you can.
Yeah, or perhaps even just waiting for those Gragas sums, because next Dragon they will be up. Taliyah ult committed here to try and stop them from pushing, but Cannon Minions certainly will take this down.
They do manage to get 1 tier 2. Now going to work on another. I don't think any inhibs will be broken.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a nice damage onto Rest. He will catch Wild Growth, so no Lulu ult, importantly. Looks like BYG will be picking up a second tower, so really good usage of Baron so far for BYG. Can they find anything else? We do see a teleport committed top from Lakai, maybe looking for that 3rd tower, and you have to say, if they manage to get 3 towers, that's a really good use of Baron.
Does kind of put the gold lead into a spot where CFO perhaps still have the scaling advantage, but is it enough to overcome a 5k gold deficit? We'll have to see, and this 4th dragon for BYG is going to be extremely important. Definitely going to see a contest on it. With Shun having sums though, as well as a 3rd item of his own completed, I think despite the gold lead, it's still anyone's game at this drag. Owen Sexy's going for a lot of CDR. Has his on, it looks like he's maybe building a Cosmic next?
Yeah, perhaps?
Is good on the Gragas, but I'd maybe like a stronger AP build. Perhaps needs a Void. Actually surprising how much magic resist has come through just for the Gragas, but I mean, it's certainly proved himself that he's pretty strong in these fights. Pretty much solo won that previous one for it. A CFO 3 minutes away. Is there any other items you can get before this? Maybe the Void on the Taliyah. Could help with dealing with Lakai as well as the Leona. The front line could go down a bit quicker. I think it does all just come down to execution though, particularly between these ADCs. I think both of them are going to deal an absurd amount of damage, and Jimmyon's kind of that secondary carry now. It's still very strong, but without items like the Rabadons and Void, just can't keep up with the sheer amount of DPS that can come out of the Xayah and Zeri.
Yeah, and look at that gold difference. Was up and down for the first 30 minutes of this, but kind of ballooning now with the fight that led to a Baron for BYG. And I'm really interested, actually. I haven't seen it in a while. I've been trying to keep an eye out, but I want to see what Kindred marks are at, because as the Baron finished, she did manage to pick one up out of the top side of the CFO jungle, but I think that's a really important thing for how Kongyue can play these fights, is how much range has he been able to collect on this Kindred for him to be able to do damage in the fight.
Yeah, that is really important. I also think just the Taliyah E usage is really important. As the Kindred, if the Taliyah E is used kind of wastefully, you can look to take that opportunity to DPS. Obviously, it has a short cooldown, but it's an important cooldown nonetheless. CFO, they really know that they want to contest this dragon. And I wonder if they realize how far behind they are in gold, because it actually looks pretty comparable in terms of the items, but just a little bit more gold for the side of BYG. I definitely don't think this is an unwinnable fight, though, for CFO by any means. So extremely close.
Yeah, certainly not. And a lot of that gold appears to be in Kongyue's inventory. Both, well, I mean, Divine Sunder is quite expensive, but just the Bloodthirster basically on top of sort of what Gemini doesn't have seems to be where most of the gold lead is currently. And honestly, on the champ like Kindred, you do want to be ahead. I mean, if you're even with Wukong at this stage of the game, you're probably not particularly happy. We're 45 seconds away from the potential Dragon Soul, so definitely will be a fight breakout here. And nicely done. Feng has gone back and actually picked up LDR, so a massive item gained just before this Dragon for the Xayah.
It's definitely a big pickup. Helps shred through rest so much quicker.
Yeah, Talia wall comes in. This could be dangerous though. 1116 will be able to get out, as well as Kino doesn't get hit by that stun. So massive cooldown used prior to this dragon. Talia can kind of get away with not using it. Lakai, however, on the flank. Kongyue nicely dodges away from the Cyclone. Nice route by Feng. He will take down Gemini for now as Lakai jumps in. What can Shun do? He's trying his best. Feng will find him, as well as Jimmy, and will be going down next. Or will he get away? It looks like he'll get away for now, but this will be Dragon Soul for BYG. Jimmy still getting chased by Lakai. Or are they perhaps looking to end? They might just end.
I don't think there's anything that can be done here. And look at the damage dealt between those two ADCs. It really was just Feng actually 1v9ing the fight, dealing 7,000 damage. And with this, BYG will force at least one tiebreaker for tomorrow between that second place position, CFO and Frank Esports.
Yeah, exciting. And honestly, as you said before, it's not even that surprising they won. They've been playing so fantastically recently, and I think this is just showing sort of the improvement they've gone through. I mean, they have beaten CFO twice now. Yeah. So, I mean, just well played to them. And I have to say, Feng really stood out to me, and 1116. That Gragas that I actually didn't see for the beginning, but that team fight particularly, where he managed to get Shun and just immediately sort of eliminate him, was really the swinging point of this game. It looked like it was getting a bit out of their control, but brought it back.
Yeah, I think MVP should go over to 1116 on the Gragas. Finding that flank was so important. I think so much of the team is reliant on that Zeri Lulu that if Zeri goes down, what can Lulu really provide? Not a whole lot. Credit to Jimmy, though, I think played very well on the losing team. Unfortunately, wasn't quite enough. And I think CFO, very questionable team fighting from them. I think that CFO consistently, the reason they play for kind of those dragon win conditions is because they struggle at closing out games. Their team fighting in macro later on isn't as clean as a team like PSG. So CFO, they try something different here. They go for the scaling comp and opt into giving up the dragons, and they didn't really execute it well enough. So I think for playoffs,